One of the most underrated elements of selling stuff online are angles. And what I mean by this is like, what's the positioning of your product? What are you going to position it as? How are you going to sell it? What's the hook that you're going to use? And what most people do, and this might be you if you're struggling to make sales, is you just start talking about your product as the product. Here's what my product does. And you start going through all the things that it does, all the things that you know that they're going to need and all of that stuff. But then sales fall flat. Instead, what we need to look for are the hooks and the angles. What problems are we solving for people, and combine those into really, really powerful headlines, hooks, and angles that bring people in and get them sold on your product before they even know what's for sale. That is exactly what we're talking about in this episode. So if that's interesting to you, well, keep on listening.
Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. I know all of you guys have been enjoying the Building a Funnel from Scratch little mini series that we've been doing, and we are going to continue with that very soon. We are making some changes. I'll give you just one quick little update. The last 2 days, we've actually had no sales. And so I'm kind of going in and looking at what's going on with that. I think we've had roughly 30 to 40 sales on the $17 offer. We've had 4 or 5 people take us up on the book a call with me. We've had 1 or 2 people take us up on our webinar and offer training, and then 1, I think, or 2 on the sales objection training. So everything that we've been having for sale has made some sales, which is really exciting, but I haven't had the time to dig in and really optimize it to the way that I want to. And so we're going to be doing that next. I also realized that the pixel wasn't working. So we had no optimization going on with the ads. So the fact that we were breaking even for a little bit was pretty miraculous, considering that none of that's working. We also are running ads to James Wedmore's Business by Design, his Rise of the Digital CEO series. So I don't know when this episode's going to come out, but depending on when it's coming out, you probably have seen those ads or heard it here on the podcast. But we also have a weekly webinar we do where we're running ads. We also have like 3 sets of ads running at a single time, which I don't normally recommend. I don't think that's a great idea. But we have so many things going on at the same time that we just had to do it that way. So that's what we have going on right now. My next step is I need to get the pixel working on the funnel. So that's going to be step number 1, is getting the pixel working on the funnel. We're probably going to move some of the upsells and downsells around so that they are, selling a little bit better. I think, if we have, let's just call it 40, we had 40 sales. We want more than 1 sale on each of those. Like I would say a good 10%, 20%. Is kind of what we would expect to see. So we'll have to go back and redo that a little bit. And then I want to put an email sequence in place as well. So there's a couple of things that we want to do that we just haven't done yet that we're going to do. So I got to get working on that. I think I'm going to get my team to start helping me with it, just so we can move a lot quicker with this. It was great as a test. It was awesome for me to get my hands dirty, but at the same time, we got shit to do and we got stuff to get done. And so we're just wasting money by not getting it done. And so I'm probably going to have the team start working on that. And I actually think what we're going to do is we're going to make this funnel like a part of our lead generation strategy to our bigger funnel that is like selling our signature program. And I'll talk more about that as we develop it, and I'll keep you guys in tune. We'll dedicate an entire episode just on what that strategy looks like, how we're making sales daily, how we're selling our signature program without launching, like all of that stuff is we're on a journey to get that going with Built to Convert, and we will keep you guys in the loop with how it does. And so there's the quick little update. Honestly, I probably went a little bit more into the details than I was planning on. So little bonus for you. With that being said, what I wanted to talk about today is angles that sell. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because with our Built to Convert students, I've been seeing a trend. I've been seeing a lot of I guess a trend. Like when I start seeing trends in questions and problems or issues that the students are having, I like talking about it on the podcast, because if they're having issues with it, chances are you might be having issues with it, and we don't want that. So with that being said, one of the things we're going to talk about today are angles. And I don't think enough people, especially when you're just starting out, really understand the importance of an angle. And I know this episode should be coming out right around the time that James is going live with day 2 of the Rise of the Digital CEO. And because that's going to be coming out soon, or around that time, I wanted to angle today's presentation around that, because day number 2 of James's training is going to talk a lot about pricing, how to structure your offers, like a lot of that stuff. So I definitely want you guys, if you haven't gone and registered yet, go to brandonlucero.com/CEO. That's brandonlucero.com/CEO. If his training is still up and you can watch it, I would go watch it now, because he talks a lot about that. Like what are the steps to be able to build a business online from the beginning, how to streamline it, how to process it, how to price things, how to come up with offers, like all of that stuff to get you guys going with your first 10 sales, $10,000 a month, whatever it is you want to do. So go register for that, brandonlucero.com/CEO. But what I wanted to talk about that I think would be paired very nicely with the training that you're getting with James's Rise of the Digital CEO this week is a topic around how to create a really powerful angle. Because I see this trend all the time where people create a course or they create a program, and then they literally create marketing angles or headlines or webinar titles or launch titles that are just describing what they do. So if you're an accountant or you teach people bookkeeping, you're literally writing things and they're like how to become a better bookkeeper or something like that. Or if you teach people yoga online, it's like learn how to do yoga at home. Or if you are like a therapist, it's something like how to overcome traumas in 6 weeks or less. Like you're just creating titles that describe this is what I do. And sometimes they can work and sometimes they can't. Although what I am noticing is that there's a trend going on right now where they are working less and less. And what I mean by that is, like, you could have gotten away with titles like that, headlines like that, angles like that 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The problem is that there are so many people online now. And when we have more and more people online, the competition goes up, which means that it's supply and demand. There's so many people offering a solution to the limited amount of people who need the solution. So sales start to go down for people. And what people think is like, well, my offer's not great, or this, like, I need a better offer, or I need a new strategy. And a lot of times you don't. A lot of the times you just need better messaging and marketing. You need better communication. You need better angles. And you need angles that are more specific to what they're going through. People need to feel heard or validated, or that this is hyper relevant to them. And so what I'm noticing is that the need for relevancy has shot through the roof in the last couple of years. And what I mean by relevancy is that when people see an angle, they don't want to see something that just says like, learn how to do yoga at home. What they want is like how any stay-at-home mom could get a yoga practice in as little as 20 minutes a day. Like, that's so specific to the identities in there. Here's what you're going to get. And it addresses the problem is like in as little as 20 minutes a day. So what's the biggest problem with stay-at-home moms? They have limited time. And so when you have a headline that's like that, it's more specific. It's more relevant to their situation, meaning it addresses their problem. It uses their identity. It's the thing that they want. So you have these, and these are what I call relevancy triggers. And this is what we talk about inside Build to Convert, is we have all of these relevancy triggers going on all the time in a lot of the things that we do to try to build up relevancy with our audience, which makes them feel heard, understood, like they're in the right place, that we get them. It helps build trust. And the way that I like to describe this, because even though I say this and it might make sense to you, I know that when you go back to the drawing board, you're likely going to just resort back to the communication style that you've always had. That's just what people do by default. And I wanted to run you through an example to like really bring this full circle, because I don't want you to run back to the same angles. And I know that most of you, what you're doing is you're taking your product and you're making that your angle. You're taking your product, you're making that your offer. You're taking your product and you're making that your marketing. You're going, here's my product and how do I market it? How do I sell it? But we need the opposite approach. And then I'm going to give you a couple examples here so it really makes sense. So, or metaphors. So I want you to think about, like, let's say you had an apple, okay? And you're like, how do I sell these apples? Well, what most people would do is they would go to a farmer's market and they would start talking about the actual product first. It's very crispy. It is very juicy. Whatever, right? That's like, get these fresh, organic, juicy apples, okay? And if you're at the farmer's market and you're the only person there selling apples, it's probably going to work. Well, what happens if like 2 more people come up next to you and they're also selling apples? And their angles and their headlines are literally describing the product. Organic, juicy apples. Well, guess what? Instead of having you getting 100% of all the business, now you're probably going to get about 33% of the business. Because the marketing's the same, the angle's the same, there's nothing differentiating them, nothing, right? But let's say, for example, you find out there's a town next door that has 5 different apple vendors, but you realize that town is the number 1 town that has the most amount of pie bakers in the country. Just the most amount of people that make pies happen to live in that town. And then so you go to the farmer's market because you know this. And all the other apple people, all the other apple vendors have the signs, organic, best apples. But you put up a sign that says, these apples are the best tasting apples inside of any pie you ever make. Or even you just change the name to organic pie apples, or baking apples. Well, guess what? Same product. The apples didn't change. The same freaking apples that you were selling at the farmer's market that were labeled organic, juicy, crispy apples, but you changed the angle of it. Same apple, same product. Nothing changed with the apple. Nothing changed with the product. The angle changed. You got more specific. And really what you were doing is you positioned the apple to be more relevant to the needs of the people who are coming to the farmer's market. And that's what I'm saying you guys need to do with your courses. We're at a time right now where your courses need to get more specific. And when you look at what we're doing with the $17 product, the $17 thing, what did I do? It's the same training. It's all it is training on content, right? We talk about titles and headlines and call to actions. Those are the things that we're talking about in there. It's going to show you how to get engaging content. But the angle that I used was how to take your information, your skills, and turn it into content that creates demand. It's a very specific thing that I'm doing. And guys, we're also going to be testing different headlines, different angles, different positioning to see what's going to sell this thing the best. So just because you have a product, it doesn't mean you need to sell it by describing what it is or what it actually, like all the things that it does. You find the little angles, the little things, the little problems, or the bigger things that are more relevant to your audience to make it feel like this is more geared towards them. And that's what happened with the Apple example. They're not buying the Apple because it's a better Apple. They're buying the Apple because you positioned it as a better solution to their specific problem. And sometimes if you want to sell your course more, it's not about driving more leads that's always going to help, right? More leads, potentially more sales you can make, but it's not just about that. If you want to make more sales, it's about getting incredibly relevant to your audience with your angles and your headlines and all those things. And so what I wanted to do is, and I'm going to run you through one more example here. This is an example I use with our students all the time, is that if I bought a whole crate full of like glass jars, and I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to sell all these glass jars? Well, I started asking myself, like, what problems does this glass jar solve for? What problems can I help people with these glass jars? I was like, well, people need something to drink out of, so I could use these glass jars as cups. People need to, like, there's people that make candles and they put the wax inside of glass jars. So maybe these glass jars will be candles. People use glass jars to make preservatives and jam and jellies and things like that. So these glass jars, and they can technically do all of these different things. Now, I know, and this is kind of a real life example, I know that if you go to Etsy and you type in like mason jars and things like that, you're going to see all sorts of uses. And people will literally have headlines in there that say like drinking mason jars, but mason jars can be used for anything, not just drinking, but what they're doing is they're putting drinking mason jars in there, even though it's the same mason jar that they're going to put like flowers in or jams in or preservatives in, right? But there's people on there that label it that way, that title it that way. And so that's what I'm saying is you have this whole crate full of glass jars, and I'm thinking about how do I sell it? I'm going to say, well, what problems does this solve? And I go through all the problems. And then what I would probably do is figure out, well, which problem is the one that's the biggest, the most painful? Which one has the most demand already built into it? And let's say come up with the idea that these are glass jars for like restaurants. Restaurants have a lot of like needs for cups and they just can't find a good solution. Well, then guess what? I'm going to go look for trade shows and events where restaurants are going to be looking for cutlery and cups and dishes. And I might get a booth there. And I might have a sign that says like, highest durability, rustic farm cups for restaurants or something like that. So now if there is a farm style restaurant looking for high quality, durable glasses, guess what? I'm going to sell them the mason jars that I have, the whole crate full of mason jars. And all they are is mason jars. But I'm positioning them and angling them as cups. Then what I might do is find a whole convention on candles and have a sign that says like most durable, fun, unique candle jars. But all it is a mason jar. And again, these are just examples. I don't know if maybe you're a candle maker and you're like, Brandon, I would never use mason jar. Guys, it's just an example. Okay. I don't know. I don't know much about candles, but hopefully the point I'm making is getting across is that your product is not the thing that's going to actually make the sale. What it is the angle that you use, and the angle that you use will start at the funnel. It starts with the ad. It starts with the webinar. That's where it starts. And so the first step for me is always asking like, well, what is the problem that my product can solve? And like, I will write it down. Here's my product. Here's all the problems that it can solve. And how do I get very descriptive and specific in that problem? How do I do that? That's the first step, is like figuring that out. And then you look at all the different angles and you might realize that there's like 3 major problems that your product can solve. And guys, there's nothing wrong with having 3 different funnels with 3 different webinars with 3 different angles that all sell the same product. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is something you can do. And so for me, the first thing that I do is I look for the problems. I look for unwanted experiences. What is the experience that someone is going through that they don't want to go through anymore, that this product can solve? And I create content around that. And I figure out, well, what content is doing the best, which angles are doing the best. And that's where I focus a lot of my time and attention on. Then what we do is I use, and this is a part of what we talk about inside of Built to Convert. So I'm going to give you guys some of it right now. If you're a Built to Convert student, you guys have all of it. You can just go to the conversion messaging part of the program. But I use with, in, and without statements. So when I want to create a really great angle for courses, I usually will bring the problem up first. So I either state what the problem is, or I state what the opposite of the problem is. So if someone's like, I'm putting out really good content and I'm not getting engagement, I'll probably say like the opposite of that would be how any course creator can create engaging content or turn their information into engaging content. right? So it's the opposite of the problem. And then I would use the with or without statement. So without, if you're going to use the without statement, I would always put something they don't want to do at the very end of it. Something they have been doing and don't want to do at the end, a problem that they don't want to face anymore at the end. So it'd be like how any course creator can turn their information into engaging content without, and what's the thing they hate? Spending all day doing it. Without doing how-to tutorials, without spending all day in front of the camera. So I put the without and what they don't like doing. The next one is going to be the in statement. So how any course creator can turn their information into engaging content in as little as 1 hour, in as little as 5 minutes, in 60 seconds or less, right? So that's the in statement. And the in statement usually addresses ease and speed, because those are two of the biggest things that people want. When they have a problem, they want it done quickly and easily and fixed quickly and easily, right? So the in statement helps us fix that problem. The next one is going to be what I call the with statement. So the with statement is going to include things that they do like doing. So how any course creator can create engaging content, turn their information into engaging content with just their phone. So something easy, something they want. So you want it, instead of like the without says the things they don't want, the with includes the things that they do want. So let's do another one. How any stay-at-home mom can get the yoga practice in with their kids around. Like that might be another thing that they want. They want to do it with their kids around, or they don't want to have to get a babysitter, right? How any stay-at-home mom can do yoga without having to go to a gym and pay for childcare, So, or we do the in. How any stay-at-home mom can continue their yoga practice in just 20 minutes a day. So these headlines and these angles are the things that we want to start using to figure out how do we sell our products. And again, you can use this for low ticket. You can use this for high ticket. These are also what I like to use for these headlines are the entry points to funnels, the entry points to webinars, the entry points to sales mechanisms, people opting in for things. These are the things that start to sell your courses and your programs instead of just stating what it is. That's what most people do. They just state what it is. Here's what it is. And we don't want to do that anymore. So hopefully this episode was helpful for you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, I really encourage you guys to go over to brandonlucero.com/CEO and sign up and watch James Wedmore's The Rise of the Digital CEO training. It's a 3-day training. What I'm talking about here with angles is going to be gasoline to the fire that James is creating. And when I say fire, I'm talking about good fire. Like this is fire content. And because he's talking about in day number 2, creating products, with how to price them, how to finally, he has a workbook for you guys. And when you combine that with the knowledge that you just got on today's webinar, you're going to be light years ahead of everyone else. Okay. So head over there, brandonlucero.com/CEO. I'll see you guys over there, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Take care, everyone.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.